All right, guys, welcome. Thank you for your patience. So just a quick few things in terms of signing up for Connect. It looks like Alyssa and Kaylin have not, you guys, have you signed up? You just haven't started the first Learn Smart?
I haven't started the first Learn Smart.
But
just got my Connect Access.
You just got to Connect Access? Okay, awesome, cool. So everyone has Connect Access now, right? Everyone's already signed in? Anybody? Bueller? Okay, cool. Everyone has access. Ideally, we want to do the Learn Smarts before lecture, right? That way we know what's going on. And also that means that there's going to be less lecturing by Professor McCarthy. All right. So what I'm going to, I think the format that I'm going to choose right now, because we don't have a lot of applied, kind of active learning exercises that we could do, is I'm going to, we're going to start each day with some questions. So questions regarding chapter 1. I'm going to be calling on people randomly. And hopefully, if we all understand what's going on with all the questions, then we don't need to go back and do the lecture notes and stuff like that, right? Does that make sense, everybody? Cool. Otherwise, we will just go back through some of the stuff that we might need more, refreshing or whatever the case may be. So, question number 1. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, he's got one of those 3 names. He once wrote, "Want is a growing giant. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this doodle. Want is a growing giant, whom the coat of have was never large enough to cover." So, Andrew, what does that mean? What was he talking? How does this relate to our definition of economics? Which one's Andrew? Andrew Corbin?
Okay.
All right. What do you think? Get a stab at it.
Yes, when you include like wanting into economics with your money, talk about like that's always going to keep growing on things that you want. So if you keep wanting things, you're never going to get to where you need to be, I guess. Like with.
Or okay, so you're on the right track. You're on the right track. So you understand the quote, and you're on the right track. But what's it saying? It says, "Want is a growing giant whom the coat of have never large enough to cover." Right. So it's this giant. He's constantly growing. He's got this coat. We grow out of coats, right? And so it's saying that it doesn't matter how much we have. We always want more, right? And so so part of the problem or so what is economics, right? So economics talks about the fundamental problem of trying to satisfy unlimited wants with finite resources, right? Yep, with finite, and so there's that word scarce resources. So the resources in this quote is the coat, right? The coat of have, what you got right now. And want, that desire of want, is a growing giant that the coat is never large enough to cover. It's kind of beautiful. As beautiful as economic quotes get. Very well done. Thank you so much. All right. Question number 2. Buy two. Oh. Get one free. Why is the one free free to buyers, but not society? Jacob. Okay, so so you're used to buy two get one free. Buy 2 shirts get one free. So it's free to you. Why is it not free to society? No. Good. That's a good guess.
Maybe the resources that come from it.
Exactly, right? So it's not free because somebody has to pay for it, right? So it's not free to society because resources were used in producing that third unit. All right, very good. Not free to society because resources were used up in producing the third unit, t-shirt, whatever, right?
Not only producing, but disposing of once you're done with it.
Very good. So that's the next kind of step in terms of the full product life cycle, right? One of these, and we haven't really, as a society, as a discipline, right? That's a new thing in the last 10 or 20 years for us to be like, oh, all the plastic. Did you guys hear that Hasbro is no longer going to be using plastic packaging in their toys? I know, it's pretty awesome, right? I mean, part of the reason why companies are taking now, expensive action, not gonna be cheap, right? Is because they're legit worried about, the future of the earth and how much plastic is in the ocean. And then there's been 2 startling discoveries. I know I shouldn't laugh about it because it's actually quite sad. 2 startling discoveries about they found microplastics in glaciers or something like that, like refrozen glaciers. And then they found a researcher in the mountains of Colorado found microplastics in the rainwater. So these little microplastic beads are in the clouds now. They're everywhere. And so we have no idea what the long-term repercussions of that are going to be. And as a result, we're a little late to the party in terms of being like, oh crap, maybe we shouldn't, package it in the cheapest crap possible because it has, we have to make a landfill somewhere, or what happened to a bunch of our recycling? We used to send all of our recycling to China. Well, 4 or 5 years ago, they were like, we don't want your recycling anymore. It's too dirty. You guys don't rinse it out enough. And what they would do, even before they stopped taking our recycling, is any of the recycling that was dirty or that they didn't need, they just throw it in the ocean. That's why there's huge amounts of plastic and the giant plastic garbage island in the ocean, because our recycling that was sold to China, that was unusable, was just thrown in the ocean. So yes, very good point.
Second biggest pollution problem is clothing that's just thrown away, fast fashion trends.
Yes, absolutely. And so I went to Colombia over this summer because one of the companies I work for is an investment fund deploying resources into Colombia and Peru. And you will see a ton of people that are, vagrants, homeless, right? But they have decent clothes. Why is that? Well, any of the clothes that can't be sold, and then they go to TJ Maxx and they can't be sold there, and then they get donated to Goodwill or whatever, and then Goodwill can't sell them. They all get shipped on a pallet for pretty much free to these developing and emerging countries, and then somebody buys the pallet really cheap and then sells it. Or actually, I think it's NGOs, non-government organizations, that get them for really, really cheap or free, and then give them out to people. And so that is one of the kind of neat things, but it also, it shows just how much waste we produce. Every year it's a new backpack, right? We were all used to that. Every year you get a new backpack. I have the same backpack for 12 years now. We don't need a new backpack every year. It's this whole mentality, replace, not fix, right? Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. Have you guys read that book? Amazing book. Highly recommend it. It's a short little fiction book. It's so relevant to our life and economics, and how, the consumerist spirit has kind of run away with our society, with our culture. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley.
I've actually seen the clothing mailer that they use. I did some work with Goodwill where we were sorting out the clothing that was too damaged to resell.
Right.
And it's so cool. It makes the most terrible noise, but it fails it into this so compact that they have to jump on it when they get it in there.
Oh wow.
Where they break it apart.
It's like the hail, right? Hail bays are so tightly bound that rain can't get in there or something. You're like, huh? How? Yeah, I'll have to YouTube that. I've been on a kick of YouTubing how, the other day I YouTubed how a Mercedes-Benz motor is made, from them melting the metal all the way up until the motor goes in the car. Oh, it's fascinating. It's super cool. Same thing with microchips. I watched the whole thing about microchips and how you make microchips. Anyways, back on track. I mean, all of this is relevant, right? Because you have to use resources in order to make these things. In order to make the car, we're using resources that we could use to make bullets or guns or tanks or ships, right? I mean, so part of what happened in World War II was we stopped a bunch of production of washing machines and other things like this. We needed every scrap of metal we could get. In fact, we had huge destroyers that we wanted to build. We couldn't get enough metal to build them. So there's giant, things with like holes this big that like no missile would be able to hit. That would, we dreamt up, and we couldn't actually because of resource scarcity.
Nylon was huge.
Yeah.
Women were painting brown stripes on the back of their thighs because it would look like nylon.
Like, yeah.
Because it wasn't being sold because they needed it for military.
What did they need it for, though? Well,
uniforms, I assume.
Yeah.
Uniforms, backpacks. Nylon is a really sturdy material for that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and they started growing hemp again because they were like, we need rope. We need rope. Like, and so hemp makes amazing rope, and so they kind of reversed their policies and started growing that again. So it's very, very interesting what happens in, emergency times with, these workarounds in terms of when you hit these scarcity walls, right? So in producing the third, good. Awesome. Good conversations. Number 3. Which of the following decisions has the greater opportunity cost? So which has greatest opportunity cost? Allocating a square of property in the heart of New York City for a surface parking lot or allocating a square block at the edge of a suburb for the same lot. So the same amount of parking. All right, Lydia. The suburb, why? Yeah. 50%.
Yeah.
So what's the opportunity cost of developing the land, the same square land at the edge of a suburb compared to the New York property? Do you not know what opportunity cost is? That's okay, you can ask. You don't, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. So opportunity cost is the next best thing. So right now, what's the opportunity cost of y'all spending time right here? Let's go around and talk about the opportunity cost. I could be riding my bicycle outside right now. What could you be doing? What's your opportunity cost? Sleeping, video gaming? I have that same computer. The Nitro 5?
Nitro 4, I'm a little broke.
Got the Nitro 5. What's your opportunity cost?
I don't know. Work.
Working. What's your opportunity cost? Be at the gym. How about you?
Studying.
Studying? Writing a paper? Homework? Napping, yeah. Sleeping. Homework. All right, cool. We all got opportunity costs for this time.
So in this case, this has a greater opportunity cost because people would be expanding. Like people are expanding so that it could be used for something more important like housing and stuff. Is that
Not quite. No. So the suburb actually has the lower opportunity cost. Okay. And that's good for picking stuff. So it has lower opportunity cost, right? Why? Why does it have a lower opportunity cost? There's going to be a higher demand, absolutely. So this has a higher demand, but that's not the main reason. You'll make more money, right? So you'll make slightly more money.
But you could also make a lot more money building an apartment
Bam,
complex.
boom, or a multi-story parking lot, right? So remember, it's the surface parking lot. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, even if they were both 5-story parking lots in New York and 5-story parking lot in the suburb, you could make a apartment building, you could make a skyscraper, you could put some commercial. Like the best thing to do these days is you make a 5 to 10-story building, and then you make the first 2 stories into like a mall, right? Because the retail space earns a ton of money, and then you have the residential, stuff above the mall or whatever, right? Or you can make a hotel. And so, but the VIP thing is that there's more profitable things you can do with the New York lot. Does that make sense? So there's a greater opportunity cost. And this is the lesser opportunity cost. And we always want to be doing the thing that has the least opportunity cost, right? If we have a choice. So let's say you had a choice between taking this class at 2 in the afternoon or 5 in the morning. Which one has a greater opportunity cost? 5 in the morning, right? You're way more upset that you're not sleeping at 5 in the morning than the fact that you can't get a nap, or you can't work out, or you can't study or write your paper at 2 o'clock, right? Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, next question. We're doing good. What is meant by the term, question was that? That was 3. What is meant by the term utility? And how does it relate sorry for the focusing, to purposeful behavior? I just have to remind myself I'm not British when I write behavior. I want to put a U in there so badly. I'm going to do it one of these days. All right. You just called on Jacob, right? Yeah. All right. What about, I'm going to say this name wrong, Ayla? A-Y-L-A. Not here? Not here? Okay. Lopez? Anybody named Lopez? Okay. Drew.
Utility is something you use, like power, water.
Nope, not that.
Oh, no,
different. That's similar.
So.
Does anybody else want to jump on it? Yes. What's your name? Kaylin. Awesome. What you got? What's utility referring to in economics?
Satisfaction that's like derived from the consumption of like a good or service.
Exactly. Yes. So we watched that video the other day, right? And it talked about the treadmill and how you're on, and it's called this hedonic treadmill, right? And you're on the treadmill and you're chasing, money. So you're doing disutility. That's the treadmill work, right? You're working. So disutility. We hate work. We got to do it. But what's the carrot? It's money so we can pay for Netflix or get a new computer or go on a trip or just have a nice meal or whatever the case may be, right? And so the disutility is what we do when we work. Utility refers to the pleasure, happiness, or satisfaction gained from engaging in an activity. Or the lack of activity. Leisure is technically an activity, right? Sitting around just watching paint dry or meditating or raking sand or flower cutting. Those are all activities that, are not really activities, right? So why is it important to purposeful behavior? So that's the answer to that one. Let's see. Kaylee, why is it the answer to why is it an important component of personal behavior?
Everything you do in your life is going to life.
Very good. Yes. So you're going to be allocating your time, energy, money in an attempt to gain the most utility possible. We allocate time, energy, stupid thing, money to maximize our utility. Close parentheses. I always run off the page. Very good. Awesome. Number 5.
So it would be like, I have a planner. I spent money on my planner so that I don't have to go back to my syllabuses 30 times a day to
Exactly.
find my deadline.
Yes.
Because that gives me more time to do whatever I want.
Right. So yeah, it could be that you're trying to minimize the amount of energy or time that you're spending in it, right? And yeah, absolutely. One of the best kind of productivity hacks or whatever is, especially like as a teacher or, you're kind of doing the same thing every semester, right? And so making changes that are going to save you time in the future is one of the best productivity things you can do, right? And so like, if there's a change to this lecture, what I should do is right after this class, I should change the lecture in my lecture notes and put it away in a filing system so that next time I teach this class, I won't have to think about, oh, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Do I need to change it? I'm going to forget that I changed it, yada, yada, yada. So I would allocate some time and energy to save myself time and energy in the future. Does that make sense? Even though there might be a better opportunity cost for me doing that right now in terms of, it could be freelancing, making money, or biking, or rock climbing, or whatever the case may be. Very good. Awesome. All right. Number 5. 2 more questions in chapter 1. Number 5. Cite 3 examples of recent decisions you made. So we can do one for each person. Of recent decisions. Where you, at least implicitly, you might not have known you were doing it, weighed marginal cost and marginal benefit. All right, so Brock, calling you yet? No. Awesome, cool. Brock, 3 examples. So what's an example of a recent decision where, you might not have done it explicitly because you didn't, but you were weighing the marginal benefit and the marginal cost?
I'm not 100% sure what marginal cost actually is.
Okay, thank you for telling me that. That's perfect information. So let's go ahead and do some expansions here of marginal benefit and marginal cost, right? So marginal cost is it's the cost of doing something. So the marginal cost for me, for some of us coming to class today was we had to get up early, right? Or we couldn't sleep in as much as we want, or we couldn't go out to breakfast or something like that, right? So the marginal cost. Now, what's the marginal benefit of going, that's the benefit. And really, it's not just of doing something, it's of doing the next thing. So the marginal benefit of coming to class is you don't get penalized for not being here. You know, attendance is a large part of your grade. You also, you know, are going to have to study less in the future, right? Because you're coming to class and you're engaging with the material and you're letting your professor know when you don't know something, right? These are all very good things for your long-term grade. So there's a marginal benefit of coming that's separate from the marginal cost, right? And we think that people do stuff because the marginal benefit's greater than the marginal cost, right? So the benefit of you coming and keeping, you know, in good terms with the class and learning the material is more than, you know, the pain in the butt that it was to get up and come here and not, you know, keep playing video games or whatever, right? So sometimes it's about different decisions. Sometimes it's like, you know, yesterday, I don't know if you guys went to that fair thing, the festival thing, right? And, you know, there was hot dogs there. They were pretty good. And, you know, I was like, well, do I want a hot dog or not? Well, you know, yes, I'm hungry and the hot dog will taste good. Marginal cost, you know, I might get heartburn or something, right? You know, because I'm like an old man like that. I get heartburn if I eat sausages and things. But I had one and it was good. And, you know, and then I decided, okay, do I want another one? Is the marginal benefit still greater than the marginal cost of having a second hot dog, right? And I was like, yes, it is. I'm still hungry. I'm not that full. I don't think I'm gonna get, you know, it seems like these hot dogs are good hot dogs. And so I had a second hot dog. Now, then I said, well, do I want a third hot dog? Right? At that point, the marginal benefit of a third hot dog is not very, I'm not that hungry anymore. I'm kind of hot dog out, you know, it's really just a conveyance mechanism for ketchup anyways, right? And so, you know, I think to myself, the marginal benefit has dropped significantly of having a third hot dog compared to the first two. And the marginal cost is still the same in terms of the risk of heartburn. So I did not have that third hot dog because the marginal benefit was not greater than the marginal cost. Does that make sense to everybody? So with these new definitions, what do you think now, Brock? What's a decision that you implicitly weighed the marginal benefit and marginal cost and decided to either do something or not do something?
Doing homework last night instead of waiting until last second.
There you go. Homework completed early rather than wait to the last second. One of my favorite quotes that probably shouldn't be one of my favorite quotes is, if it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would get done. Nothing would get done for the last minute. Pretty great. Okay, so yes, that would be one of them. So we'll do this. This is 5A. Very good, Brock. What about, so I think I called on Lydia? Yep, yes? Yeah. So let's call on you again.
Would going to college, that would be the marginal cost, and then the benefit would be the.
Well, the margin. What would the marginal cost be? This is a very good question, because there's two main ones that I see. So there's money, right? You got to pay for it. It's not free.
Exactly.
And
then your time.
yeah, you foregone wages.
Okay.
You could work. You could keep working your high school job, or go, you know, do what is it? The telephone pole repair. Like that makes a lot of money. You don't need you don't need a degree for that. And so you're foregoing those wages of 4 years because you can't. It's very difficult. I don't want to say you can't. It's very difficult to hold a full-time job down and have a full course load and do well in both things, right? So absolutely, the marginal benefit is the degree, is the knowledge, is the extra bump in my earnings, right? I mean, time and time again, we see that a college degree pays for itself within like 5 years, and you know the lifetime income of college graduates is significantly more than non-college graduates, right? But there's a real marginal cost of it, you know. And sometimes the cost might be like a psychic cost, you know, like, oh, school stresses me out. That's a marginal cost you're going to have to get over. The marginal benefit hopefully is greater than the marginal cost of the money, the foregone wages, and the psychic, the fact that school stresses me out / bores me. Does that make sense? Awesome. So we need one more. So that was 5B. Anybody want to volunteer? Going to school, to college, instead of working.
So, anyone that's been over to the Memorial Hall knows that it has a ton of stairs, and none of them are in the same. So, if you need to get something from the costume shop in Memorial Hall to the Black Box, it's impossible without traveling across the building up 2 flights of stairs. So, I have a habit of pulling on when I have to get something into the building. I'll just pull up on the sidewalk there and carry my props up to the Black Box instead of parking and walking around it up the building. So there's the cost that I might get in water trouble, but there's the benefit of I'm not going to take 3 hours to take 40 loads.
So ticket for illegal parking or whatever, right? Probably not a lot of trouble, just a tiny bit of trouble. And the marginal benefit is the time savings and the effort, right? The sweat. You're sweating less, but it's mostly time savings of faster route. And so, is it rational if you were a billionaire to just speed? You're constantly, yeah, you don't care, right? You get a ticket, but you only have so much time. What's the quote from Endgame? I really like that Tony says is from his dad. Not a cent of money has ever bought an ounce, like a minute of time. No amount of money has ever bought a minute of time. We only have so much time. We have no idea how much it is. We only have so much time. And so, yeah, if you got $1 billion, why would you go the speed limit? I mean, maybe if you got like your license near the max points and you're going to get it taken away or whatever, but if you all of a sudden just had $1 billion tomorrow, it would make no sense for you to go the speed limit on the way down to Denver, right? You go however fast you want and just deal with the consequences later. I mean, I guess if you go more than double, then they arrest you immediately, right? So there's a range that you can just get a ticket for. So you just want to be careful about that. But just talking to us from a strictly economic, rational perspective, the marginal benefit, saving all this time, going faster, not dealing with traffic. That's why like express lanes and stuff exist, right? It's to help ease the traffic by appealing to people with more money, essentially. And then that extra money goes towards more road repairs and things like that, right? Which in turn helps all of us to not have shittier time when we're driving. Okay, awesome, good stuff. Last question of chapter 1. Which of these applies to micro or macroeconomics? So it's a bunch of questions, actually. We're going to be asking micro or macro. All right, so the first one, the unemployment rate is what, like 2.9% or something like that, if I recall? 2.9% right now for the United States. And we will go into more detail about this number, this 2.9%, because there's actually eight different measures of unemployment, not just one. We only hear about one in the news, right? And it's honestly one of the crappier measures. So we will talk about the different measures of unemployment when the time comes, because there's many different ones, and I'm going to have you guys kind of learn about them and pick which one you think should be reported and why. So that's an activity you get to look forward to. But what is this? Is this micro or macroeconomics? Macro, absolutely. So this one is a macro. All right, 6.2. Some software firm discharged 15 months, last worker fired. 15 workers and transferred a division to India. Micro or macro?
We get an example of a software company.
Microsoft. I mean, or Disney. Disney used to do this. Disney was doing this a lot, where they would hire foreign nationals on these like special visas to literally come in, and you would train them how to do your job, and then they would fire you. And if you didn't train these people how to do your job, then you didn't get your termination benefits or whatever. You know what I mean? And so it was a really controversial practice, because they were displacing all these, very smart, highly educated, technical American workers with these Indian and other, foreign nationals with these special H-1B visas that they were getting probably through their lobbying connections and things like that. But it just sucked. I mean, think about it. You got this high-paying job, and you've been working tech for Disney for 5 years, and then all of a sudden they hire somebody and bring them in from a different country, and you have to teach them how to do your job, otherwise you don't get any more money. So that would be, it could be similar, but Microsoft firing some people and switching their division to India.
I guess for Microsoft, or micro.
It'd be micro, yeah. So it wouldn't just be micro because of Microsoft or whatever. It's micro because it's at the firm level, right? At the firm level.
It was the whole company, macro.
No, if it was the whole industry. So yeah, so if we said, so another one, let's just do another example, 6.3. Trucking companies adopt self-driving tech. Is this micro or macro? This is macro because it's affecting the whole industry, right? And a bunch of people are going to lose their jobs. And honestly, this is one of the most concerning things, because there's this really scary map, I'll try and find it and post it, of the states. Like there's 20-something states where the #1 job is truck driving. So more people than anything else are truck drivers in those states. And those jobs are disappearing. And honestly, the way that that's going to evolve is that the existing truck drivers are probably not going to get the new truck driving jobs. It'll be young people that are used to video games. Because what's going to happen to trucking? There's not going to be any more long haul trucking. It's going to be all essentially automated and remote piloted, right? Just like our drones. And the truck drivers will essentially take control of the truck when they're not on the highway anymore, right? So the whole way from Chadron to Denver would be automated and just a robot, right? And then as soon as you, kind of get to that 76 I-25 interchange, somebody would, port in like the Matrix or whatever and take over the car virtually, because of all the traffic and everything like that, and dealing with construction and on-ramps and off-ramps, and then, the technical aspect of actually fucking reversing those things into the ports. I mean, it's not fun. I once had to back a giant moving truck onto a ferry. I was like 19. And if I had taken, and it was like as big as these two tables together. So like if I had gone one way or the, I would have fell into the ocean with all this furniture, my family antiques and everything. It was so harrowing, but I did. Made it. I was like, I could be a truck driver. Give me my Class CDL license. But yeah, so that this is honestly a really troubling development, because so we're gonna just end on this stuff, and we'll pick up with chapter 2 questions on Tuesday. But part of, I shouldn't have said that because I just lost my track. Okay, so there's two main kind of arguments for and against. There's a lot of chatter right now about people being like, robots are going to take our job, and artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to take our jobs, right? And there's some people that are saying, yes, we should be worried. That's why some people are arguing for, like Andrew Yang, the Democratic guy, was arguing for the $1,000 a month minimum income, because like essentially So first let's go over the arguments of why we shouldn't be worried about robots taking our job, right? So who knows about the Luddites? Luddites, I don't know how you say it, but Luddites, anybody? Luddites? They don't teach you guys history like they used to. So the Luddites, when the I think it was the loom, the cotton loom was made, right? 1800s or something. These were primarily people that had been doing all that by hand, right? And so it was a whole cottage industry, right? Literally, because you'd be in your little cottage and you would make the stuff and then you'd bring it to market and you'd sell it, okay? So all of a sudden, this huge industry, and you can also think of like scribes, right? I mean, monasteries and scribes is like a whole class of people, large percentage of the world population. Literally, all they did was just rewrite books. And then all of a sudden, the printing press comes out. Those people are out of a job, right? The people that are in the cottage industry, when the loom comes, they're out of a job. And so the Luddites, the reason why we remember them is because they went bullshit. And they started burning all the factories with the looms and everything like that. They were not taking it lying down. And so it's the Luddite movement is a representation against technological progress. Okay, does that make sense? Because they were one of the most vocal. They weren't the first or the last, but they were one of the most vocal and most dramatic of the groups that were against technological change. Now, what happened with the printing press? These scribes were out of a job, but then you had typesetters, and you had publishing, and you had bookstores and everything like that, right? I mean, when the internet came out, everyone was like, we can't do this. What about the libraries? And so there's always somebody that's upset about the new technological advances and the displacement that it does to these workers because all of a sudden their skills are no longer in demand, right? Now, in each case in history, new industries have evolved, but did those old people necessarily get jobs in those new industries? Not always. And with what's going on right now, most of the sustainable jobs in the future are either people-centered, right? And people don't want a robot as their social worker or their nurse or whatever the case like yet. We'll get there. Or they're programming related, right? And so a lot of these people that are truck drivers that have been truck drivers for 40 years or something like that, we can't retool them. We can't teach them how to program and have them be as productive and proficient as a 20-year-old kid who's been on a computer since he was 3 years old. It doesn't work. The data doesn't show it. The best use of money we can spend, it's a curve in terms of this is the return to education for society, right? So 1 extra year of education, it's like so it would be dollars of GDP, gross domestic product for the whole country over 1 more year of average education, okay? Or more money put in that education, right? And so this is, you're born, this is, 3 years old or something like that, right? So we found that, this is 4, we found that it's something like this. I don't know exactly how the rest of it goes, but I know that it peaks at preschool. So the highest point is investing in pre-K, which is why we've been seeing a ton of movements in different states for making pre-K like free for everybody. And Colorado, I think, finally is going to, they had some bullshit half-day pre-kindergarten. Now they're finally doing full pre-kindergarten because a half-day is no real good. I mean, you got to like drop them off late and then you go to work and then like 3 hours later, you got to go pick them up. Like, it doesn't make sense.
In Spearfish, everyone goes to half-day kindergarten unless you are a special needs kid. So if you can't read too well, then they'll give you full.
Oh, God.
And I remember my mom was so excited that my little sister
Got the
was,
full day.
got the full day. 'Cause
Yeah.
she was sick of picking her
Oh,
up
it's
in
awful.
the middle of the day.
Yes. No, it doesn't make any sense. And honestly, the return to education is so great at that level that we should be dumping money in there as a society. Because at the end of the day, like, what are children? They're future workers, right? I mean, there's not a lot of people that are, leaving the United States and never, even if you leave, they still tax you, right? I mean, like, so you're still contributing to the United States. So, yeah, so if we want to try to put money into people when the return it just doesn't work. It just doesn't, the studies show it just doesn't work. And so what are we going to do instead? Well, we can either just leave them out to hang, and they're going to do illegal stuff and deal drugs and do crime and everything like that. Or we can, give them some sort of minimum income, in the same way that like Social Security, gives old people a minimum income. Because, idle hands are the devil's plaything at the end of the day, right? But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens when what's called the tertiary sector is replaced by machines, right? So, remember, you guys probably don't even remember this, travel agents. Internet completely killed them. It kind of, I don't know how. I think they're all money laundering operations. Who needs assistant? You know what I mean? Like everybody, you got Expedia, you do the Hotwire, right? I mean, there's so many online things. Why would you pay an extra fee for somebody to put it all together for you? And, but back in the day before the internet, yeah, they had the pictures and the catalogs and, they would set everything up for you and they had the connections with the buses, yada, yada, yada. So as more and more of, servers and drivers and, data entry is replaced by these automated processes. I mean, like you go to Panera, you go and you put your own order in now, and then you bring a little buzzer to your table, and then somebody brings it out with a table. But like, and then you can order it on your phone, right? I mean, so there's so much of this stuff that's eliminating / reducing the need for laborers. Does that make sense? And so, if those laborers don't keep up, in terms of training, then they're really going to be left out. Does that make sense, everybody? Awesome. Cool. I think this one's better than just doing a regular lecture. So let's pick up with chapter 2 in class on Tuesday. Please read chapter 2. Do the Learn Smart. I guess you have to do the Learn Smart by Sunday. But yeah, ideally we would, so I guess we'll be a little bit behind now, which is very good. But like ideally, even if it's not due, please try to read and do the Learn Smart before class. That way we can just do these questions and have discussions. And like I said, we can minimize the amount of lecturing in here. Awesome. Thank you guys so much and have a good rest of your day. Have a good weekend.
This is what